Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Michigan Parkinson's Foundation Virtual Education Series. Tonight, I am very happy to introduce two speakers. Our first speaker is Dolly Niles, who is the Executive Director from Quest Research, who's going to give us a little update on all the exciting things happening at Quest. And our second speaker, Patrick Hoag, who is from Michigan Medicine, occupational therapist, who is going to discuss all things we need to know for adaptive wear. So, without further ado, I welcome you and thank you ahead of time, Dolly. Take it away.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I just am going to give brief update. I recognize some names out there, so I love that there are some already interested people in research for new treatments for Parkinson's disease. So Quest Research has been doing medical research for about 27 years this year, and we really have grown to specialize in research for Parkinson's specifically. We have been able to work with closely with not only Dr. Peter Lewitt, whom many of you know, but also Dr. Erin Ellenbogen, both movement disorder specialists, which is we feel very important in delivering good research locally. I do want to announce for those of you that knew where we were, we have now moved to a new location right next door, still on Orchard Lake in Farmington Hills, but it is about 2.5 times the size of where we were, which is wonderful. So we have a really specialized lab that allows us to do some, really better research and provide better data to our sponsors. Now that if you've been reading about like Michael J. Fox's big biomarker breakthroughs and such, those have gotten to be very important. We also have an updated inpatient area. So we are even doing inpatient research, more comfortable patient kitchen. And it's just a lot. We're really, really excited about it because we do tend to think we're probably one of the top 15 to 20 research sites in the country offering Parkinson's studies. So that's what's been going on, is our big move. Updates in research. So I like to go kind of in 3 categories. First is we are offering a new trial for people that are newly diagnosed. And like Julia mentioned, it's hard to navigate that new diagnosis. But I do like to, and I think it's wonderful that she shares at her monthly meetings about research as a facet, we feel like, in your healthcare, because some of these trials require that you not start any medicines yet, because they are really hoping that they will slow progression. So the way to measure progression is for you to be untreated. So that if you know someone or are newly diagnosed and not taking medicine, this could be something for you. And it's exciting because there really isn't anything yet that helps slow disease. And so that's what they're hoping some of these treatments will do. The second area of exciting research, a couple of new trials that we are offering, has to do really around genetics. And if you're on earlier, we were talking a little bit about GBA and then the other genetic mutation, LRRK2. Both of those, if you have family history, this could be your kind of Parkinson's. And what they're finding is people with a Parkinson's disease caused by LRRK2 or a GBA mutation, a specialized treatment would be more effective for you. So if you have family history of father or an uncle that had Parkinson's disease, you may want to be tested. And these trials do offer this free testing. And if you were positive then for GBA or LRRK2, then that you could potentially qualify to participate in the study. And the treatment would be specialized for someone with this kind of Parkinson's. So that's exciting because now we're kind of getting into really precision medicine. Kind of really the only other diseases that really use that kind of technology is cancer. So that's very exciting, I feel like, for people with Parkinson's. Last is people that are what I call the experienced person with Parkinson's. So some folks, as they progress, they need to take more Cinemet, or maybe add on like a dopamine agonist, etc., and take either doses more frequently and more at each dose. And what they find over time is the doses don't last quite as long as we need them to, and they stop being effective before the next dose time. And we call that off time, where we have taken medicine, it has kind of stopped working, but it's not time for me to take my next dose. That's called off time. Um, what they also find is because I'm also taking more medicine early on, I also have this like peak time where I have a lot of medicine going on, and we find people can be dyskinetic. And that means kind of having some unwanted movements when the dose is at its peak. Um, so as the disease progresses, it would be nice. They've been trying to find treatments that help smooth the Cinemat dose from having this peak time where you're having dyskinetic and then this off time where it starts wearing off. Um, they're researching a couple treatments that help smooth that. And so it's called, it's for motor fluctuations. And we have two trials like that. So that would not require you to change your medicine. And what they're hoping to do is have you need less Cinemat if you were to add this treatment and have really improve your quality of life, have better on time and longer on time. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. Any questions?
I have a question, Dolly.
Sure.
Um, on any of these trials that you're doing, do you have a control group that has not had the diagnosis of Parkinson's, but they have a family history? That's one question. The second question is for the newly diagnosed before they start medication, how long is there a time frame that they have had to have had the diagnosis before they're a candidate for the research trial?
Right. Well, because we have movement disorder specialists, we really can verify. It's usually because sometimes getting a diagnosis can be tricky.
Mhm.
They usually say within 2 years of symptoms. There doesn't tend to be a too little time.
Okay.
It really tends to be a too much time of a diagnosis. But I think the current trial we have might be up to 4 years. You could have a diagnosis up to 4 years, but not have had any treatment.
Okay.
That's the first. And then the other was, yes, sometimes we do have a control, but it's rare for us to have people without Parkinson's, in a control. There are, when we do some genetic testing, we did a genetic test a couple of years ago, and it was people with family history as well as people diagnosed. And they're trying to test ahead of time, and it's really about genetics.
Mhm. Well, don't forget me, because Lord knows my father, my uncle, my grandfather, and my brother.
Yeah, right.
I'll happily sign up as I support research.
Yeah. And there's a lot of genes that they're investigating. Like I want to say 34 in the trial that we were doing before. So that's super interesting. And I think the good news about that is as they find them, as you know, just with this GBA gene trial, they have refined a treatment because GBA Parkinson's is a little bit different on the cellular level.
Mhm.
And, that's exciting. So I do, and I think then the last thing just to remind people about research is I encourage you, if nothing else, just to call and get on our email newsletter so that you find out about updates. Firstly, you're doing the right thing by staying in touch with MPF because they are big partners and supporters of medical research. But also know that participation is free. You don't need insurance. Even coming and talking to a medical professional is free. You can come in and learn about the study and think about the study before having to feel, be committed.
I agree. I often will say the best thing about research, I think, is that all that devoted time that you get with these medical professionals that you don't get in the clinic.
That's right. That's right. Yes, absolutely. So, I don't have, I wasn't going to post up my number, but I can give you the phone number for the office if people want it, or how would you like to?
Dolly, I'll send a follow-up email to everybody tomorrow and I'll
Oh,
include Quest in the email for
thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So then if you have more questions, feel free to call anytime. And, open invitation, of course, for Julia, but really, if you want to come check out the clinic, I encourage you to come.
Oh, that's wonderful. We do have one chat comment.
Okay.
I have a number of people in my family who have had or currently have PD, and I have the gene, but do not have PD. I have been part of the PPMI study for years. Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
That's
That's what you
Francine. Thank
do.
you.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Wow.
Excellent.
Good to know.
Excellent. I has been, I mean, they've come out, they have this fantastic biomarker that's been part of that research. So that's really the great way to contribute. Really great way.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Dolly. Well, good luck to you in your new office. I can't
Thank
wait to
you.
see it,
Thank
and
you.
we will catch up afterwards. And if there's any
Mhm.
questions that come your way, I'm happy to funnel them over to you as well. Like I said,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to send a follow-up email tomorrow.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Dolly.
Thank you. Bye.
So, bye-bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thanks, you too.
Now we're going to shift our talk over to Patrick, who's an occupational therapist at Michigan Medicine, and is going to talk to us about making our life easier. Patrick?
Sounds good. Okay. Let me do the screen sharing and all that stuff. Where did that go?
Perfect.
And 1 second. Let me just pull it up on my end where I want. Okay, good. There we go. I was getting worried there that it didn't go through. Okay. And can I minimize this? We'll just park it up here because I can look over here and see it. Okay, good. All right. So first off, good evening, and thanks everybody for showing up to my discussion on adaptive wear. Julia, thanks for having me and giving me this opportunity to present. Back June, Julia approached me about this presentation, and at first I didn't know if I was going to have a ton to present. I didn't know how much there was to present on adaptive wear, but kind of as I went through, I learned a few things, and I actually eventually had to scale back the presentation a little bit because it got to be a little bit too much. So let's jump in. First off, who am I? So I'm an OT. I work for Michigan Medicine. For those that may not know, I'm an occupational therapist. I've been certified in LSVT big protocol since 2014. Very recently got certified with a PWR, so Parkinson's Wellness Recovery. And then I work really closely with what's called our Jones Falls Clinic for patients with Parkinson's. So we put together, we evaluate the patient, then we put together some individualized plans to either eliminate or as close as we can eliminate falls from their life if they're having an increase in falls. So that's kind of my background. Real quick, I want to talk about financial disclosures. I have none. But during this presentation, I'm going to talk about a lot of commercially available products. I'm going to show you many websites that sell these items. I have no financial interests, nor do I receive any financial gain from any of the products I'm going to talk about today. So some of the learning goals, some of the things that I want to kind of convey to you and get across. First off, what is adaptive wear? You're probably wondering kind of what is all this stuff he's going to talk about. I want to talk also just briefly, I'm going to touch on strategies that will help improve independence with dressing. And then I want to talk about movement strategies. So a little bit different than just kind of the other strategies that will help with dressing or make you more independent. So real quick, what is adaptive wear? So adaptive wear is apparel that's specifically designed, so clothing specifically designed to make dressing easier for the individual. And then adaptive clothing is a step to help patients with Parkinson's disease be more independent in their daily lives as their symptoms progress. So one thing, one of these quotes I pulled from the research I was doing, I really like this quote. It says, we want clothes that are easy to live in, easy as sweatpants or shirts, but that look better. We want clothes like yours, but we want them to be easy to put on and easy to take off. We want to be able to live in them. So I like that quote. It's just kind of stuck out to me as I was going through all this research. So the benefits. So want to decrease your frustration that may be caused by tremors, dyskinesias or bradykинesias. And I also want to improve speed and safety of dressing, specifically lower extremity dressing. That could be the part where people report the biggest either safety hazards or the biggest frustrations. So I want to just kind of start out with looking at fasteners. So fasteners such as buttons, snaps, zippers, clasps, and laces can be pretty frustrating due to a decline in fine motor skills or the amount of fine motor skills that are required to kind of fasten these objects. So today I'm going to show you some commercially available options, like I said, as well as DIY options that might make doing these fasteners a little bit more easy. So the fasteners that we're going to go over are Velcro, slip-on shoes, magnetic, one-handed magnetic zippers, zipper pulls, loops that can be sewn into clothing, magnetic, then a whole bunch of kind of magnetic options, belts, buttons, laces, and even jewelry clasps. So first off, so one of the most popular fasteners is Velcro. Using Velcro fasteners improves independence. It can decrease struggling with buttons and zippers. And so the company that I have here is called Buck and Buck. And obviously buckandbuck.com has a bunch of clothing for men and women available on their website. So if you look at the female model in here at the very top, she has some Velcro fasteners on her shirt. And then for style, they still keep the buttons on the shirt. So it's really concealed well. You don't even know that some of these shirts are adaptive wear. And then the pants on the right, trying to do that really small button for a lot of my patients is a pain. Even some of the patients that I work with don't even button that top button if they're not wearing like sweatpants or something. They've just been known to leave the button open because it can be very frustrating. So then kind of maybe you don't want to purchase on a website. So you can get Velcro closures without purchasing an item. This is a DIY Velcro setup. So this is something that I found on Walmart.com, but this is available in a lot of different places. Amazon. I even think I found an option on like Meijer.com. But anyways, it's a Velcro closure that can be added and sewn on in the position where the buttons would be. And so it would act just like the buttons on a shirt or as a closure on a shirt. These, but they have to be sewn in. There's also iron-on Velcro, so another DIY that's a little bit easier than sewing. So instead of sewing on the Velcro, you can purchase the Velcro that can be ironed in, and it irons on just like a patch. So you find the places that you want to put this on a shirt, and you just iron it right on. I kind of like these DIY options only because you don't have to go out and it's not a large monetary investment. You can purchase them for like under $10, at least the iron-on option, and give it a try. You know, if it's not successful or something you don't like, you don't have a lot invested in it. but it's a good attempt. It's a good thing to try. Next up, so Velcro fasteners for undergarments. So for my female clients, some of the feedback I get is undergarments can be very, very difficult. So this is a company called Slick Chicks. I forget, they're part of a bigger company. They're part of a really well-known clothing company, and I forget who they are off the top of my head. But they offer a wide array of Velcro fasteners on undergarments. So they had undergarments on pants and bras and sports bras. The option on the right is the zipper. If the Velcro isn't something you're interested in, they do have zipper closures as well. I'm not as excited about zipper closures as I am about some of the other closure options that I'm talking about today, like Velcro and eventually magnets. But I just wanted to throw that out there, that there are options for undergarments, because this, with my female clients, this is one of the bigger kind of frustrations that they have. They tell me I can do all the other stuff, but the clasps on a bra, either front or back, are very difficult. And next up, I wanted to put this example in here. This is an example of a guy putting on a shirt with Velcro, or not Velcro, with magnetic closures.
Hi, Josh from Silverts here, and I'm so proud to introduce our new magnetic shirt highlighting our exciting J-line for disabled professionals. This shirt could not be easier to put on and take off, and we think anyone who struggles with independent dressing or is limited by dexterity will really enjoy the functionality of this shirt.
This is my favorite part coming up.
Put it on as simple as line up the snaps, and it almost does itself up. Sleeves have magnets as well. Simply put it into place and it goes, and we are ready for the day. Really excited about this new product, and I hope you'll come to silverts.com and check out our new channel.
All right, so I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody, just to kind of give them a good example of what a magnetic closure does. A lot of my patients, I mention it to them or we talk about it, but we never get around to the point of actually purchasing a shirt, and we kind of still struggle with all the fasteners of buttons. This next slide, just two flannel shirts. These are both shirts with magnetic fasteners on them. And then so I just wanted to make the point, this is a company called Duluth Trading Post, that an increasing amount of retailers are entering the adaptive clothing market. So these two flannel shirts were offered by Duluth Trading. But as I researched this topic, I found that companies like Tommy Hilfiger, Target, Kohl's, all have an adaptive clothing line. Now, you probably have to get online. Those probably aren't going to be available in the store. But a lot of these adaptive clothing lines are available through companies' websites. Once again, this is actually from Kohl's. Once again, something I never knew, that Kohl's offered adaptive clothing, but this female flannel shirt also has magnetic buttons on it. So we will chalk this up to learn something new every day. I literally just found this picture this morning and put it in. So this company Buttons to Buttons. So if you're looking to experiment with magnetic closures, but you don't want to purchase a new wardrobe, or you don't want to purchase more than one item, Buttons to Buttons is a good option. So there's no need to purchase a new shirt. What it is, if you can see kind of those in the picture on the left, I call them like a magnetic button adapter. So you have magnets that go over the existing button, and then it acts just like that shirt we saw earlier. They do require a little bit of setup. So what you do is you purchase those kind of button caps that you see in the picture on the left, and you put them over. So that requires a little bit of fine motor skill and strength in the finger setup. So give yourself some time if you're going to do that. But I found this is a really good option. So if you have that your favorite shirt, or you're just kind of not sold on the magnetic shirt option, you can kind of dabble using this line. So shoes and safety, I think shoes might be where I get a lot or most of my questions about adaptive wear. So I just want to read this little research snippet that I saw. According to the National Council on Aging, wearing ill-fitting shoes are linked to a higher risk of falls in older adults. Many of the patients that I evaluate at the Falls Clinic, many of the patients I evaluate, they come in with their shoes being not just too wide, but also too long. And when I ask them about kind of the shoe option they chose, they just said that it's easier to put on. So buying a bigger shoe is easier for them to put on. But the point that I want to get across is a larger shoe is actually is unsafe and becomes a bigger fall hazard. And research has shown that. So looking into this presentation, multiple research papers were talking about a higher incidence of falls with ill-fitting shoes. So I want to talk about, there's multiple companies, but I want to talk about 3 in general. These are the 3 that I see most of my patients come in with. And these are kind of the 3 I have the most experience. So these are slip-on, no-tie shoes. So the first is a company named Kizzix. So I like Kizzix not only because they're really easy to put on, they have a ton of variety. If you go to their website, you don't just have like 2 or 3 options. You have, I mean, it's like going into a regular retail shoe store, or looking at their online store. So they have just a multitude of options. Skechers is similar. The Skechers slip-ins, they have a lot of options as well, and kind of a lot of variety to choose from. And then the Nike Go Fly Ease. I've had a couple patients with these. You don't get as much option for color, but as you'll see in these next couple slides, they're really easy to put on. So let's see. So here's the Kizzix. So just kind of somebody slipping right into the Kizzix. Oh. Here's the Nikes. I think I gotta move this. So if you kind of look at this clip, the person just has them sitting there and is able to slip right into them, just putting a little bit of pressure, and takes them off in the same way. No bending forward, no bending down to tie anything. Really, really nice option for safety and ease. And then the same thing with the Skechers. I know that clip happened really fast, but it's really the same principle as the Kizzix. Just really easy to slip in, no ties, no laces or anything like that. So when it comes to lower extremity dressing and safety, I've really been happy with these. And so have my patients. So usually I show this clip and or some of these clips, and by the end of the week, my patient will have a pair of Kizzix. So just something that's super simple and super easy to work with. Another company called Billy Shoes. So if you look at this shoe, there's a big zipper on the side of it, but the zipper is kind of well concealed. It looks like the rest of the shoe. So Billy Shoes makes slip-on shoes. So once they are unzipped, they're kind of as easy to put on as slippers. Honestly, I feel the people who really like this shoe are my patients who come with caregivers, and maybe to the patients are to the point where a caregiver is doing a little more of the dressing. But caregivers really like this shoe because it's easy on them. It slips right in and then zips right up. So they're not trying to fight with a normal shoe or kind of trying to nudge that foot in there. Next up, no tie laces. I don't know if anybody has experienced or seen some of these no tie laces. But there's a ton of options. I just chose 3 to look at, kind of 3 of my favorite. But even earlier this week, I read an article that said the top 10 no tie laces. So there's lots of options out there, but they're all similar. They all kind of have the same, work on the same principle, where you put elastic laces into your shoes and they have some type of fastening device at the top that allows you to slip in. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Zubits. So if you look at this brown shoe on the right, at the top by the laces, you'll see those kind of block looking items. That's actually a magnetic closure. So that magnetic closure helps pull that shoe together and make it tighter. So like some of the other stuff I showed you, there is a little initial setup with this, and you would take the magnets and lace them through there, and then as you see kind of the line right in the middle on that right side for the magnets, that's just where they kind of come apart. But they're pretty strong magnets. Once you attach them, you don't have to undo that at all. They're on there until you really physically reach down there and take them off. So I kind of like Zubits for the strength of their magnets. This might be the kind of longest standing one on the market, lock laces. So lock laces are another great option to eliminate shoe tying. Once again, there's a little bit of initial setup, but once you kind of put the elastic laces through, like you see on that picture, that button at the top is how you tighten them. So you kind of pull the elastics through there, and then you push that button down to kind of set the tightness. And you don't have to worry about lacing it anymore. The front of that shoe acts just kind of like the front of the slip-on shoes. You can just kind of put them right on. Like I said, these have been around probably 20 years or so. They started out just an interesting fact, they started out in the triathlon community. So triathletes could save time at their transitions, and they've really caught on to kind of the adaptive wear market. But I hate when I do that. And then there's this Expand. So Expand is also another elastic lace that you put through there, and then it kind of has these fasteners at the top that you tighten everything down with. Like I said, there's lots of options on the market. It's kind of finding what works for you. One of the things I really, really like about kind of the Expand is that you can still use your favorite, or if you have a favorite pair of shoes, you can still kind of save them and wear them just by swapping out the laces. Obviously, with the other 3 options I showed you at first with slip-on shoes, you have to buy a brand new pair of shoes. But if you have a pair of shoes that you really, really like, that you're just not ready to part with, these Expand laces or some of the elastic lace options have been really good at saving some of the other shoes that you have. All right. Kind of zippers. This is another kind of really cause of frustration with my patients. So the fine tip, or the tip to tip pinch needed to grip a zipper and pull it into place, really gets to be frustrating for some of my patients after a while, especially on days like today, and maybe for the rest of the winter when they're coming in from the outside and their hands just aren't working as well. So, we try to problem solve and identify alternate zippers. So using some of these options that I'm going to show you here in a second have been really successful. I hope all the technology is coming through. This is just a magnetic zipper. So all you have to do, it works just kind of like you saw on that shirt. The zipper comes together, and then you can pull up the notch to pull it up. You see the Under Armour logo on there. So a lot of the one-handed zippers or magnetic zippers initially were in Under Armour clothing because they bought the initial patent. But the magnetic zippers are starting to show, as you'll see here in a second, are starting to show up in a lot of other places. What I do want to say is, if you decide to go the Under Armour route, if you're like, hey, Under Armour is a cool brand and I would really like to have that zipper, do your research. Under Armour doesn't it's not really the information isn't really available on their website, what type of zipper closure they use, which to me, I would think that it would be right there, but that's what I'm looking for. So this is another company. This was also silver. So this is the same company that I had one of the companies from the shirt from the beginning, I think. So just a general sweatshirt. And as you see on the right, it's got a magnetic one-handed closure on it as well. So you don't have to get the bottom of that sweatshirt kind of threaded together. And what I'm about to talk about next, well, in a second, if you see there's a little pull on the bottom of that zipper, a little zipper pull to make things easier to pull up. But I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a couple of slides. But that can be a real game changer with trying to zip your zipper, just a simple zipper pull. DIY options for the magnetic zipper. So there's a company called Ankgear, ANKGEAR.com, and they sell just the zipper insert. So if you know, or if you have a seamstress or one that you use commercially, a zipper can be taken out of your existing coat with a magnetic zipper put in place. I didn't do it with this item. I had another coat I had to put a new zipper in. It cost me about $25 to do. So with the purchase of this zipper with the installation, it'd probably be about $35 to kind of retrofit that zipper into. That's paying for it at a commercially available seamstress. But you might know somebody in your family. You might have a family member that can do it for you. So that could definitely be an option. But like I said, there's actually now quite a few places online where this is available, which I think is an amazing option. I talked about zipper pulls. So this is just another item that kind of takes away that frustrating being able to pull up the zipper, being able to have that tip-to-tip pinch to grab that little notch on the zipper and pull it up, which once again, working with a lot of my patients on dressing, being able to successfully grab that little notch and pull it up can be frustrating. So this is a commercially available zip grip. And all this person in the picture is doing is just wrapping a finger around that circle and pulling it up, increasing the ease of doing this immensely. Usually when I get this out, patients are like, oh, that was so simple. Kind of why didn't I think of that? And I'll show you in this next slide how easy it can be. All this is just a key ring. This is just a ring from a keychain that's been wrapped around a zipper to provide that ease of pulling up that zipper notch. So it can be really simple, you know, it can be just as simple as a keychain, as a key ring. Discrete loops. So I added this picture because I like the discrete loops on that pair of socks. Socks can be really hard for some of my patients to get on, and being able to just kind of, the person on this picture is using a tip-to-tip pinch, but you could access those socks the same way the person on the previous slide was pulling up the zip grip with just your fingers kind of looped through there. Loops can be added to any clothing if you know people with the skills to kind of sew it in there. And that's one of the things I really like about adding loops. The question is I don't have the skills to add it in. I think I need to talk to OT programs and tell them they need to put sewing back in their program. This isn't a difficulty for a lot of my patients, but I do occasionally have patients with Parkinson's disease needing to wear compression stockings. So compression stockings that come with a zipper on it make getting these things on. I don't know if anybody out there has ever worn or tried to put on a pair of compression stockings, but they are hard. You usually need a caregiver to do it. Part of this presentation was me trying to figure out if somebody didn't have a caregiver, how would they get all this on? So compression stockings with a zipper. If you had fine motor skill issues, you could definitely put a loop on that zipper and be able to pull it up easier. But so compression stockings usually you can buy them over the counter, 12 to 15 mmHgs of pressure. If you need more than that, you need a physician's prescription for them. There is a company called Jobst, Jobst, and they are one of the most popular compression companies that make the higher compression for people who need a lot more compression. They also sell zippers in their stockings as well. So you can get this in almost any size of compression you need. The helping hand, if you needed to get those on your own. So I know this is a presentation about adaptive wear, but this is the hardest thing that I've had people try to get on themselves, trying to get their compression stockings on. So this helping hand is one of the best things for being able to still don your compression stockings independently.
Yeah, they are tough.
They are, aren't they? They are a pain. They're tough for us too. Accessories. This is an area I had a little fun with because this is an area that a lot of my patients, this is, you know, the talk about they don't wear their watches anymore. They don't like to put on their belts. And a lot of my female patients have given up on jewelry, which is kind of sad because a lot of these things kind of are things that help define us or that help, you know, make us who we are. We have, you know, people may have jewelry that were from different family members, or, you know, I don't think I'm ever without my watch on. So just kind of these things that make us us. So the first thing I want to talk about is this magnetic clasp belt that I found. So the belt with a magnetic clasp, so it helps decrease the need for fine motor skills required to don it. But so once you get this on, you know, the magnet's going to make it easy. One of the biggest, so this is going to be kind of like a little trick. So one of the biggest complaints that I get from my patients is I can't thread my belt through the belt loops. And I agree. When you have balance issues and fine motor coordination issues, and you're trying to thread a belt through the loops while you're standing, and maybe you have some type of dyskinesias going on and you have a tremor, it's going to be really difficult. So my hack, or kind of my strategy for this, is to put your belt on before you put your pants on. So while your pants are sitting on your bed, just thread that belt through the loops, and it's already set once you pull the pants on, and you don't have to go through that struggle of trying to loop the belt through the loops. And that's been one of the most successful pieces that I've found for putting on a belt. Magnetic watch bands. So kind of with all these magnetic clasps and closures, I found a lot of magnetic watch bands out there. So if you have a watch you still like to wear, you can probably save the face and find a watch with a magnetic clasp on it that you can just slip right on. And these go on so seamlessly. I have, I don't have a watch band, but I have different helmets that I wear that have magnetic clasps on them. And once they get close, they're just like that shirt that we saw earlier. They just kind of snap together, and it's really quick and easy. So, you know, fumbling around with the watch band can be difficult for some of my patients. Magnetic jewelry clasp. So I just use this picture. These pictures on the left, the magnets are kind of not close together, and then the picture on the right, everything's snapped together. So using like personally, trying to put on like my daughter's jewelry is a pain. So I don't know how hard this would be with some of the movement disorders that you may face, trying to put on a necklace or trying to put on some other type of jewelry. So having a magnetic clasp would make all the difference in the world. This is just another example of another bracelet with a magnetic clasp, and you just kind of pull it apart, snap it back together. Pretty quick and straightforward. And then, like I said, some DIY options. So DIY magnetic clasps. If you look at it, this what's in this package, It's basically two magnetic clasps that you hook onto the other end of your jewelry, and you can continue to wear some of the items that you still want to wear without having to give up wearing them. So this one even says no tools required. So you can fasten that on there and have a magnetic closure without having any tools or without having any having to give things up. So I really like this option for people as well. Jackets, coats, winter wear. So we're getting to that time of year where we all have to put on our winter coats. I chose these two pictures of, I think people call them puff coats. Anyways, I really like the style. It doesn't have to be whatever brand I chose for a picture. There's tons and tons of companies that make these nano puff coats now. I guess maybe it's not somebody's style, but what I see in the clinic personally, when I have people put on a coat like this compared to maybe the coat they wore in, I see a good 25 to 30 seconds difference when I time them. Because a lot of my assessments, I time people for dressing. And I think 25 to 30 seconds is a huge change when you're trying to do some of this stuff. So typically these coats are light and they're flexible, so they're really easy to get your other arm in. So I know a lot of times what will happen with my patients is they'll get one arm in the arm sleeve and that other arm will kind of be fishing behind their back for the other one, and it's really hard to find. But how light and flexible this material is and how slippery it is, it's easy to find. And then once you do, you slip right in. I put the vest up there because the vest is a great option for the fall and for like early spring when it's still kind of chilly out and you want to have a little bit of warmth. That, the vest without having any sleeves on it at all, especially being this puff material, you can kind of slip in and slip out really easily. So once again, another option. I also like the options together. I have patients that might wear them together, the vest and the coat, just for a little extra warmth, but still really easy to kind of get in and out of. Mittens. So these are flip top mittens. A lot of patients that I work with struggle to get their gloves on, struggle to get their fingers threaded into the right or appropriate hole for their hands. So what I've come up with a couple times is like, hey, let's just try a pair of mittens. And I like this option because they're the convertible ones. So you actually kind of, you can have your hands out of it, but then you can flip the other part over the top and still keep them warm. So just an alternative to wearing gloves. Like I said, a lot of times when people have movement disorders, when it's hard to kind of get your finger lined up with the hole in the glove, maybe we don't wear gloves. Maybe we use mittens and make it a little bit easier. So then I just wanted to talk about, like, hey, when you're getting dressed, you're getting dressed in the morning, you're getting dressed when you may be on your off. We talked about this with the first presenter, off times on your medications. So off times on your medications, you might not be moving as good as you normally do later in the day or in the early afternoon. So performing a home exercise or a program that can help increase some of that dopamine in the brain to make movement easier, that might just give you enough of that improved movement to help you get some of your clothes on. Or at the very least, perform finger flicks. So one of the things I work on with my patients to kind of help wake the hands up, wake the fingers up, are big finger bursts or finger flicks. It just, once again, it helps get the dopamine going, and it helps the finger extensor movement. So that helps with fine motor coordination skills. Simplify the task. So we talked about simplifying putting on a belt earlier. So lay the clothing out in the order that you plan to put them on. So you're not looking around for whatever you want, get everything out in one place and set them out in an order that you plan to put them on. Take your time. So don't rush. That's when a lot of kind of accidents or falls happen, is when people are rushing. If possible, dress when you're up on your medications. That might not be possible in the morning. You might not be up on your medications in the morning. This is a big one, and I actually had a long conversation with one of my guys today. Sit down when dressing. You know, trying to stand up and thread your feet through undergarments and pants can really be a struggle. And not only are you trying to do that task, you're trying to maintain your balance as well. So decrease the balance kind of difficulty on your body, or the balance load, and sit down and do it. Also, organization, keeping your drawers and closets organized helps reduce some of the stress and makes the stress free. So this is just a little Venn diagram of where the most of the presentation, adaptive wear, movement strategies, and task simplification all comes in to make dressing easier. So each one of those by itself might make sense, might make things a little bit easier, but you're giving yourself the best chance of being, you know, maintaining independence and safety while dressing by kind of looking at all three of those together and, you know, making things as easy as you can for yourself. This is a resource list of all the resources of all the websites that I looked at, and maybe we can find a way to get this out to everybody. I probably have a couple things to add to it since I've been kind of adding to my presentation here and there along the way. But personally, when I started doing research for this presentation, I was frustrated because I would go to a website that would have some of these listed on there, not these ones exact, some of them, but they'd have other ones, but the link wouldn't work. So that tells me that the company probably went out of business. So if you go to like the AOTA website, even Parkinson's Foundation website had links that were dead, that didn't work. And like I said, that tells me that if you're going there to look for information, you're not going to find it because the companies probably went out of business. So, and that's kind of what I found in this research, is that some of these companies did go out of business, but I'm hoping when they say that the market for adaptive wear is going to improve by $50 million over the next 5 years, that some of these companies are going to come onto the market and going to be more accessible to everybody. Questions? I see that there are a few comments up here in the chat. Let's see. What do we got? So, had to help my husband and missed which shoes you said were the best for someone who is very involved and does nothing for himself. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the Billy footwear. You know, like I said in my intro, I don't just work with Parkinson's patients. I work with you know, mostly all neurological disorders. So I work a lot with spinal cord injury, and my caregivers for patients with spinal cord injury love Billy footwear. They think it's amazing. It is so easy to just undo that zipper, slip the foot in and zip it up, and it makes it really easy for everybody. And then people might feel. Oh, I think that was.
I have a question.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of these things are magnetic. This world is filled with electronics. The question I have is, are there going to be issues with magnets being close to electronics for these things?
Not
You have
close.
so many.
So it depends on. So not as so well. To be honest with you, all the websites that you go to for magnetic shirts, they all have disclaimers about if you have like a pacemaker. If you have a pacemaker, or if you have like an AED, like the internal automated defibrillator, that you should stay away from the magnetic products. As far as interfering with anything else, that I'm unsure. Like, you talking about like with a cell phone, or or just any electronics in general?
Yes, any particular electronics, even could be a screen that, you know, if you put electronics or a magnet towards the end of a screen, you can actually pull sometimes.
That I'm
Yeah.
unsure of. I would have to do a little more research on that, you know. That I can't answer. I can't thoroughly answer that question and say that it's not going to affect it, but I don't know how strong these magnets are. And the magnets that, you know, I use in some of my other, I'll just give you an example. I do a lot of biking, a lot of cycling, and in cycling we use magnets for a lot of stuff. And I've never had, and we use a lot of electronics because we're data nerds. And so any of my electronics have never been affected by my magnets. So
Okay,
magnets to
thank
hold
you.
on lights, magnets to hold on the clip on my helmet. You know, I have different magnets on my handlebars that are on there for like my bell and stuff like that. So they've never, in that situation, they've never had any negative effect on my electronics.
Okay, thank you.
I thought that
Yeah,
was a
no problem.
great question, David, and I just will add something just based on my experience previous to joining the foundation. I was the deep brain stimulation program coordinator at Henry Ford, and very early on systems with deep brain stimulation, the stimulators had magnets in them. And so people were advised to not go through metal detectors and to avoid like bending over into like a deep freezer to get something out, and the magnets could turn on or turn off the stimulators. Well, about at least 7, 8 years ago, these medical device companies that do deep brain stimulation eliminated all of the magnets in their stimulators. So they are very safe to be around magnets. That's as much as I can tell you about magnets and implantable devices.
How about one other thing? We go through airports. They're made of metal or something like that. Aren't
Yeah,
they cause problems when people go through the machines to see if they have something to hurt somebody,
yeah,
whatever? They're looking for that kind of thing, I think.
yeah. So
So,
early on, sorry, Patrick.
oh no, go ahead, go ahead.
So early on, when people who were implanted with pacemakers or DBS, they were advised, do not go in. You can't go through security and go through the scanner. You can't do any of that because, quite honestly, they hadn't tested. And the biggest concern was, particularly with DBS people, is that their system could get turned off if the magnet was activated, but also that it could heat up the coils that run alongside and into the brain, and nobody needs any burning of lesions going on. And the problem is that the FDA, not the problem, the good thing is the FDA requires extensive testing, but it's very expensive as well. And I don't think that they did comprehensive testing on all of these people to say you absolutely cannot go through a metal detector or through a body scanner, but it is advised that you avoid it. What they recommend now, and that was because there was a magnet. I mean, there was a real concern for it, but now there are no magnets in this device. And so going through a metal detector or a body scanner, they still don't recommend it. They actually tell you to go through security and tell them that you need a hand pat or a hand wand. And it's just for safety issues.
All right. Patrick, did you have something else to add to that?
Oh no, I think I was just gonna say, like, if you had like some of these wearable devices that I was showing you, most of them you're probably gonna have to take off and put through the X-ray machine
Okay.
anyway.
Yeah.
And then so they're gonna be off your body when they're kind of looking at them, like definitely your shoes, probably a shirt, and you know, if you did have any, like, you take your watch off. So most of these accessories you're probably going to remove and put through the X-ray machine anyway.
That's such a great point for people traveling to have
Yeah.
to go through the security checkpoints, and you have to take your belt off and your shoes off, and you're already running late, and you got to get to your gate, and now you got to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know with my sister, they had replacement knee, And of course, that's metal too. And so they always have trouble going through the plane, but the tests there.
Oh,
Just wondering.
yeah. Yeah, I got a plate in my neck all the time. I'm always stopped. Like of all
Is
the
there this presentation? Is this going to be available somehow?
I am recording
It
it.
looks like an excellent presentation.
I
Thanks,
thought it
Pat.
was excellent
you.
too. Thank you, Patrick. It's so, I mean, so many things that are common sense, but the fact that you put the time in and did all the research for this for us, it's
Yeah.
an excellent, excellent, excellent presentation. I could not have expected anything better. And we are recording this, and tomorrow I will be sending out an email with the presentation as well. So if you registered for
great.
it, and then it will be uploaded on our YouTube channel as well.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Perfect.
Do we
Thank
have
you.
any other questions? If not, I just have a question
Yeah, for sure.
for everyone else, and you can certainly unmute yourself if you want to. But I just wonder if there's one adaptive maneuver that you use daily that helps you, like a tip or a trick with getting dressed that you could share with us. If anybody has any tip or trick.
Well, I have something I learned years ago, not as an adaptive, but just to dress properly. And that is, if you're going to go with buttoning the shirts in a traditional way, I always had problems with mismatching the buttons if I tried to do it from the bottom up. So I learned to go to my collar, leave one button open, then start with a second button, and then you're all matched up.
Okay.
That's great.
Like it.
That's a great tip.
Nope, I'm gonna use that one because I've always found that people, come in with better ideas than I do, and then a lot of my expertise just comes from, just remembering what my old clients did and just kind of reproducing that. So I'm gonna steal that.
Well, you can call it the L shift.
I'm writing that down right now.
Oh, Alan, you never disappoint. Michael, I think Michael has one, but you'll have to unmute yourself. Yeah. And Francine has, I find using socks for diabetics are easier to get on than regular socks for my husband.
Yeah, I think though they're usually just not as tight, so they don't have as much of the tight elastic in it to kind of, so yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's a great tip too. I also had a tip that someone shared at one of my support groups, and it was exactly what you were talking about, Patrick, about trying to put your coat on and you're fishing behind for the other arm. He actually had placed a hook up high
Okay.
by his door, and there was a loop on the outside of his jacket, and he would hang that hook up there, and so he like kind of backed into his jacket.
Okay.
I
I've
thought
heard of something like that. I've never encountered it, but I've kind of heard of that before.
I thought that was pretty smart.
It is smart. It's, trying to think. You know, I guess what I want to say is, like, if you're having problems with some of the stuff, really, talk to your movement disorder specialist and get a referral to OT. We love problem solving this stuff. That's kind of why we do what we do. We like the challenge and the problem solving nature of it. So
I'm curious, have any of you guys seen an occupational therapist? So this is this is one area I have to say that I think occupational therapists are underutilized. And oftentimes the neurologist will just automatically write a referral for physical and speech therapy, and they leave off occupational therapy, and that is a big disservice to you. So if you are getting that referral for physical therapy, speech therapy, or not, I definitely recommend occupational therapy.
Yeah.
Not painful. It's covered by insurance. It's so tremendously helpful. Definitely
Yeah,
underutilized.
and what we've been telling our movement disorder specialists is like, hey, just get them a referral. You know, when you get newly diagnosed, let us evaluate, you know, and if there's no needs, at least we have like these baseline assessments. We know kind of where they're at, and we can kind of look at you every 6 months to a year and kind of give you a home exercise program, update what you're doing, you know, add to it, and discuss problems like what we discussed tonight. You know, so we're big pushes for early, you know, more early referrals. So
I love it.
we actually in a week, I'm not part of the group, but we're going to be talking to like our whole neurologist group about that. So,
I think it's
pretty exciting.
excellent, excellent. Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Patrick. Honest to God, that was just a great. I wrote lots of notes.
Okay. You know, you have my email. You can give my email out if anybody has any questions or you know, if I can help in any way, you know, please reach out.
Absolutely. And before we go, I just want to make sure that everybody has a safe and happy Thanksgiving. No choking. There's no
Oh yeah.
choking on
How
Thursday.
about speech therapy? Has anybody worked with speech therapy? They have strategies for that too. So kind of we all work as a team.
Yep, chew that food and don't swallow like this. Tuck your chin in, open up that larynx, drink plenty of fluids, and stay hydrated. And I hope everybody has an enjoyable Thanksgiving. Again, this program is being recorded. It will be available on YouTube, but I'll send out a post email tomorrow as well. Hi, Adele. I didn't see you sneak in.
Well, everybody, thanks for letting me present. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Patrick. Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Thank
All
you,
right, good night.
Patrick.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
Thanks, kid.